greatest hits.
In the book, 5 Views on Apologetics, 5 Christian philosophers give their views on apologetics. I will quote some of their criticisms of presuppositionalist John Frame, who is a student of Van Til. William Lane Craig says, presuppositionalism is guilty of a logical howler. It commits the informal fallacy of begging the question, for it advocates presupposing the truth of Christian theism in order to prove Christian theism. Frame himself says that we are forced to say, God exists, therefore God exists, even though such reasoning is clearly circular.
Guess what? All positions are circular.
It is difficult to imagine how anyone could, with a straight face, think to show theism to be true by reasoning God exists, therefore God exists. A Christian theist himself will deny that question, begging arguments prove anything.
Yeah, you see, William Lane Craig, he's not always speaking as a Christian. Sometimes he's just speaking as a philosopher who is arguing for Christianity.
Gary Habermas says, here Frame commits the informal logical fallacy of false analogy. He argues that rationalists must accept reason as an ultimate starting point, just as empiricists assume sense experience, and so on. So the Christian may begin with Scripture as a legitimate starting point. But these are not analogous spaces. While the rationalist uses reason and the empiricist uses sense experience as tools from which to construct their systems. Frame assumes both, the tool of special revelation, and the system of Scripture, from which he develops his Christian theism. In other words, he assumes the reality of God's existence, his personal interaction with humans, plus a specific product, Scripture. Does Frame not realize that, in the name of everyone needing a presupposition, he has imported an entire worldview when the others have only asked for tools? But these presuppositions are not all created equal. Frame allows rationalists and empiricists their methodological hook, while he demands the hook, line, and sinker for Christianity. While the others still need to figure out how far their initial assumption will get them, Frame's kit came ready-made. He's all set to go fishing. Must the broad process of compiling evidences for the truth of Scripture now require us to judge the text by a more ultimate standard?
There can't be another independent authority to confirm the final authority.
What if this evidential method was actually taught in Scripture?
Are you brain damaged?
Then it would seem that Frame's entire approach would have to be seriously amended. However, this is precisely what we find when we examine Scripture.
He's trolling.
Over and over again, with the help of several checks and balances, we are told to test God's revelation to us.
I think this guy's trolling us. He's trolling.
These are just a few texts where both believers and unbelievers were told to examine history to ascertain God's truth. Audiences were regularly encouraged to use their minds and their eyes. They were witnesses. But there is no hint that these evidential challenges displeased God by suggesting ultimate standards being applied to his revelation. Indeed, God often made the challenge himself.
And now he's on the permanent troll list.
Matthew, are you saying you don't accept personal revelation as any type of argument?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah, personal
Okay,
revelation.
good. Then
you personal revelation.
You have now made yourself. You see, here's the problem, and I'll be brief, and I'll let Seamus talk. What you have now done is you have removed the Christian God from his autonomous position, that he is the only basis and way that anything can be truly authenticated or verified, that he is the basis and foundation, you have now said that his self-revelation is not self-authenticating. When you say that's not the case, then
Right.
there is. See, what you're doing now is grossly not biblical. Now there is another autonomous way of ultimate verification, and what would that be, Matt?
Kelly James Clark says, Frame makes many disparaging remarks about autonomous human reason as the standard of truth. I don't know of any philosophers who have suggested that reason is the standard of truth. A great many philosophers, however, have suggested that reason is the best human tool for figuring out the truth.
How do you know that?
And, if reason is sufficiently broadly defined, it does seem to be the best human tool for discovering the truth. Let us define reason in terms of all of a human being's truth-aimed cognitive faculties: reasoning, inductive, perceptual, oral, memory, and so on. We can include among the deliverances of reason all of our properly basic or foundational beliefs.
You can call it whatever you want it. You can call it a properly basic belief. You can call it an axiom. You can call it a starting point, but it is still circular.
Is autonomous human reasoning a bad thing? If it's a bad thing, it is all the worse for us because it is all we have. Although people often oppose revelation to reason and suggest that revelation is superior, there can be, in the end, no real opposition. Here is the problem: each person must decide, tacitly or explicitly, that a purported revelation is revelation. Each person must decide that what is being said in some particular holy writ is the voice of God. Each person must decide what is being said and then what it means. Frame says, to claim neutrality is to claim that I am the one who ultimately decides what is true or false. But surely, I am the one who decides what is true or false. Who else could do that for me? Of course, our deciding does not make something true or false. That is not my point. My point is that each of us must make decisions using our best judgment about what is true and false. I don't see any other way around it. We have no other faculty than reason, in the broad sense, to come to our best judgment of which God to follow. I suspect that some presuppositionalists believe that Scripture is so clear that submission to God's truths does not involve any imposition of human reason. But the tremendous diversity of Christian interpretations of Scripture suggests otherwise. Every take on Scripture is interpretation, and interpretation is a function, at least partly, of autonomous human reason.
Okay, so basically what you're going to do, you profess to be a theist, you profess to be a Christian, and you're going to pull out one of the Pal Talk allegations card? Is that how sleazy you're going to get?
We may damn reason in some of its restrictive forms, but it is the best, and only tool, that intellectually free human beings have to discover the truth.
Do you hold to the Christian worldview?